Hello, Bobby Iki Anarcha Media here, and in this video, I am going to talk about why um I'd consider the 2004 Punisher film an underrated groundbreaker for comic book films because if you recall, comic book films up to this point, with very few exceptions, were almost exclusively defined by sci-fi or fantasy kiddie stories about people in tights and in tights beating up bad guys, and there is certainly room for that in comics and film, but unfortunately, a lot of people lump the entirety of comic books in and comic book films into that sort of myopic little box. But 1 year before Batman Begins came out and showed that comic book films didn't have to feel like comic book films, that you could have characters based upon comic books in real world situations. The Punisher broke that ground. In fact, it broke that ground twice. Once in 1989, and then again in 2004. And yet, DC fanboys with short memories love to act as though Marvel never does anything innovative or risky. I mean, and why is the Punisher such a revolutionary Marvel character? It's because the Punisher is not a hero. I'm not saying that just because he doesn't have powers. I am fully aware of the fact that someone can still be a hero without powers. Batman, for instance. No, the Punisher is not a hero by design. Like, basically, Frank Castle is a sight case. He's a monster who puts down worse monsters, is perhaps the most layman way of putting it. He's he's a sociopath, no less than those he punishes are. In other words, um the only difference is, whereas the other sociopaths that inhabit his world torment the innocent, he torments other sociopaths. So, um, so in a way, he could almost be considered the proto-Dexter, I suppose. And also note throughout the film, in his narrations, Frank insists that his actions are not revenge, but if you listen to the director commentary and look at how his actions are motivated and executed, it clearly very much is revenge. He um he calls it punishment because he is essentially projecting the demons within himself onto those who murdered his family. In fact, if you read Garth Ennis's run on the comics, it talks about how whether Frank's family died or not, something would have made him the Punisher because of his psychological predisposition to bloodshed and war and combat and conflict. Like 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 that role of the happy family man, both in the comics, the cartoons, and the film, and the games, is clearly very much a role that Frank is forcing himself to portray. The Punisher is who he is. It always has been since Nam, and always will be until the day he dies. Also, another thing about The Punisher 2004 is it is one of the few films I've seen John Travolta in where he hasn't totally fucking annoyed me. And I don't know how much that goes to the character being written for him or how much that goes to like him sort of being held back by the director and writers. But yeah, like for some um reason Travolta didn't annoy me as much in this film as in pretty much everything else I've fucking seen him in. Also, the actress who played the the Punisher's wife Maria was fucking hot, and and, and Will Patton, who played Travolta's closeted gay right hand man and lawyer, did a very effective job at portraying a suitably evil, creepy, yet weirdly tragic henchman figure as well. This has been Bobby, aka Anarcha Media, Liberty, Equality, Fraternity, goodbye.